All right, looks like we have everybody on here. It's 11:31, so we'll go ahead and get rolling. Monday, November 30th, head coach Chris Jans, New Mexico State men's basketball weekly press conference. I guess just to kind of start off on our end, Chris, obviously, big win to start the season last night. We got another one tomorrow, and then just kind of take us through this, this 3-day stretch here that the New Mexico State men's basketball is going to be on from the start of the season through tomorrow night.
I would say it was a win. I wouldn't call it a big win, but you got to start somewhere. Just glad we were able to compete. It's been a long time coming since last March. I think every team probably in America wants to get on that court. It's a comfortable feeling again. Certainly it's different with all the protocols that everybody has to go through prior to playing, the seating arrangements, the masks on the sideline, etc. It's something all of us across the country are having to adjust to, but everybody's doing it. No advantage to anybody else. It is what it is. But it was good to, like I said, compete. It was good to compete. The guys were excited. We found a way to win the game. We talked a lot about it, obviously, post game last night. But we're off and running.
I guess, Coach, how much are you treating last night and then again tomorrow, more or less like you would in a normal year, kind of the closed door scrimmages that you might have against teams like this?
That's not our approach because closed door scrimmages are such a different format. You can stop the game anytime you want in a closed door scrimmage. I mentioned that last night after the game. This is a real game. You're going to be 1-0 or 0-1. And you don't have a whistle around your neck. You can't stop and teach and coach. So it's a completely different mentality for everybody. And we're certainly not treating it like an exhibition either. We had a lot of respect for that team going into the game. At least the coaches did. They're an older veteran team. They got a lot of guys that are very deserving of playing at a higher level for whatever reason. They're at Arizona Christian. And that's not a slight to them and their program because we're one of the better programs in the country right now for their level. And they had 5 games under the belt. And we knew they'd be more seasoned, more comfortable than we were. They were in their surroundings. And as you guys know, that's not an excuse. It's just the truth. But we treated it like every other game in terms of our preparation. We had plenty of time to prepare with the postponement. Almost too much, to be honest with you. It was kind of a weird feeling. I've never experienced that of getting ready, shoot around, etc., and then hitting pause and having to wait 48 hours to play. So that was an adjustment. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of adjustments all year long.
You mentioned last night how much you were looking forward to looking at the film. Have you had a chance to look at it? I'm sure you have. And was it better than you thought? Was it worse than you thought? What did you kind of dissect?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. It's the old saying that it's never as good or as bad as it seems, right? With the score being as close as it was and us having to make some big plays down the stretch after, them making big plays. We had to counter their plays, and we were down with less than a minute to go in the game. And, we found a way. It wasn't pretty. We made a lot of mistakes. But again, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. Certainly a lot of teaching moments. Evan getting in foul trouble hurt us, but it was a good experience for all of us to have to deal with that. And we've already made mention of it. Depth is not a strong suit for us right now. Hopefully it will be later, but it's not going to be for the next few weeks. And we have to understand that, and we've got to be careful. We've got to substitute properly. We've got to make sure that multiple guys know multiple positions. And we went through it last night. So it was a great learning experience, but I didn't think our guys panicked, and that was a good sign. Like I said, our huddles were really good. We had some good execution with some sets down the stretch. I didn't really want to have to run a lot of sets, and we didn't run any until about 6-7 minutes left of the game. We tried to play just basic, but we felt we had to try to give our kids some crutches in order to win the game.
Coach, what do you want to see next time you guys get back on the court as far as something they may have improved over the stretch of one game?
One problem that really stuck out to me was our on-ball defense. We call that, when the rubber hits the road at the point of attack, like when the ball screen happens or the ball handler without a ball screen is trying to make his move to get an angle or get his shoulders by the defender. And we call that, POA, point of attack. And we had a lot of breakdowns at point of attack. The ball got into our bodies. Guys were getting angles on us. Our ball screen defense was pretty good for the first game out. That was a strength of ours last night. But our one-on-one defense at point of attack, our motors weren't revved. We were on our heels too much. And they had quick guards. I mean, the point guard, if you watch the game, he was terrific. I mean, he was really, really good. And he gave us fits. And so we've got last year with Sean Buchanan and Terrell Brown, in the past, AJ Harris, guys like that out front that were really good on-ball defenders. We got to get Evan and CJ geared up that way and be able to do a better job on the ball.
Are those two, CJ and Evan, are those the two guys that you're looking for to be? Would you say that if you could name a name, does your team have a top on-ball defender right now? Obviously, guys playing different positions.
Clayton and Jabari are our best on-ball defenders with their length and their activity and their urgency and their experience for what we expect around here. We need to get CJ and Evan up to their level. And, they don't have as much potential defensively because they don't have the length that those two have. They're built differently, but they got some quickness and hopefully some developing toughness. And, it's an issue for us right now. We've got to correct it. We've been trying to correct it. It's not like, we didn't realize that going to the game. It's not as if we haven't been trying to get better at it in practice and pointing out the mistakes on film. It's just maybe because it was a game now that it'll, take hold a little bit better with those guys. But, it was exposed last night and something that we got to get better at very quickly.
Coach, do you have an update
good morning.
on,
Go ahead, Colin.
Oh, thanks, Cam. I was just curious, do you have an update on potential games beyond tomorrow?
I don't, unfortunately. We're working just for this coming weekend. We've got a verbal agreement for the following weekend that hopefully we can announce here shortly. We've got 2 or 3 options. I'm going to say options, 2 or 3 teams we're talking to, trying to work out the details, trying to get 2 programs to come together and agree to play for this weekend. But hopefully, by the end of the day or by tomorrow, we'll know who that is. But we certainly got to find one. We got to play this weekend. And then we've got some games, again, that are loose agreements, verbal agreements, but it's so changing. You got to be fluid for down the road. Like the last week before Christmas, we've got some teams we're talking to that we both say, yeah, we want to play in this state. Obviously, both teams got to stay COVID-free, et cetera. So it's just a daily thing. It's an hourly thing. It's not a one-day meeting. It's not just once a meeting day about it. It's a constant back and forth with our staff, with other staffs to try to figure it out.
Hey, Coach, good morning. This is Cameron Cox with 12 News here in Phoenix. Hope you're doing well. Just curious, how has your stay been here in the Valley and in Phoenix? What's it been like? What have you liked? What has been the most challenging part about it? And, how tough was it to be away from family, around the Thanksgiving holiday?
Cam, I appreciate you being on. The Arizona Grand folks have treated us great. I've said it before. I feel like we're at a holiday tournament and we're staying for a long time. That's just the feel that you get when you're at a place like this, that you're playing in one of those MTEs or Thanksgiving or holiday tournament. It's just, we're going to be staying for weeks at the minimum. So, but they treat us well. We're getting comfortable with our surroundings. We're getting in a routine. Thanksgiving, it really isn't a holiday for most of us with college basketball experience. You're fortunate if you can be with your family during Thanksgiving because of playing games, being on the road, et cetera. So we're all used to that. But certainly, being away from home for this long a period of time is quite the adjustment for all of us. We really don't have a home court. We got a place we practice, but We don't have a home court right now, and we're working behind the scenes to figure all that out going forward. So that's an odd feeling. It's a weird feeling. Playing, a non-D1 on the road was very rare. I just don't know how many teams in America have experienced something like that. I haven't done any research to, look it up, but there's definitely some changes, some adjustments. But so far so good, and people are treating us really well around here.
Do you find yourself worrying
Benedictine
more as a coach, kind of with, how everything's set up, what your guys are doing on their downtime? I know you got them pretty locked down tight, but do you want to create more activities for them, or find yourself thinking for more ways to keep themselves occupied during their time here?
We're used to the bubble / quarantining. We've had a lot of that back in New Mexico in the last few months. We bubbled ourselves on our own campus for a couple weeks prior to coming here. We keep them pretty busy with eating and video and meetings and practice and getting in. We have 24/7 access to the court, which is within 3-4 minute walk from where we stay. So they're taking advantage of that and be able to get up extra shots. And, obviously, everyone brought their gaming systems. We got some games in the team room and TVs, etc. So I haven't had any complaints. No one's complained to me, or staff hasn't brought anything up to me. I think they're pretty comfortable with the surroundings, but ask me in 2 weeks and it may be a different answer, but so far so good at this point.
Thanks, Coach.
Benedictine? Go ahead, Cam.
Oh, that's it. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Coach, who is Benedictine, Mesa, and what can we expect tomorrow night?
I'll be honest with you. I'm just going to dive into them as soon as we're done with this. Before we practice this afternoon, I've really just focused on Arizona Christian and seeing where we're at as a team. We had weights this morning, a couple different groups. We had COVID testing this morning. We had breakfast and trying to meet with our staff about scheduling and, what they thought about the game, et cetera, before we get together here at 2:00 our time to talk about last night and talk about, our next opponent. So next couple hours, I'll get more familiar. Coach Anwar has already got me a folder and a bunch of information and some clips. So I'll get up to speed quickly.
So I don't think we talked about it yesterday, but Wilfred led you guys in scoring off the bench. Just what did you see out of him and his Aggie debut?
I caught myself after the game telling the staff, I'm like, that was Wilfred's first Division I basketball game. It was CJ Roberts' first Division I basketball game. He had been in some programs, but I don't think he ever touched the court. So, I sometimes lose sight of that. It was the first Division I basketball game for Jason King as well. So I've got to understand that, I want it now, like every coach in America, and we have high expectations for our players, and we don't try to use excuses around here, but I'm sure they were nervous. I'm sure they were a little wide-eyed, but he looked fairly comfortable out there. He had a couple nice rebounds in traffic, albeit against a team that knew we were bigger than and more athletic than them. See if he can do it against, light competition remains to be seen. He stepped up and knocked down that first jumper, and it looked good. Made a nice jump hook. I think he forgot that out of bounds lines were a violation. He stepped out of bounds once, traveled a second time. But I think he'll get better. We need him. He's been practicing better. He has made some strides recently. He's been one guy that stuck out the last couple of weeks since we've been here that is growing into his own a little bit. And we need more guys like that off the bench to grab minutes and show us that they could be counted on. And he's a prime candidate for that.
Coach, as far as scheduling, getting your team, you've talked in years past about wanting to fill that schedule with games before conference play, maybe throwing one Power 5 team in there to challenge you. You probably hear this question a lot, but is that still something that you're thinking about? Or are you just thinking about, hey, getting your 5 guys on a court and a couple guys coming off the bench, just playing a game period? Or are you more strategizing about which opponents you're going to play, I guess, in the non-conference?
Yeah, we've always tried to challenge ourselves in the non-conference portion of the schedule, and this year's different, but we're certainly looking for those opportunities. Takes 2 to tango. Not going to get into all that, but we're trying. You know, after last night's score hit the ticker, I joked after the game that our phones will be burning up with teams that maybe didn't want to play us. And now looking at that score, they may be more excited about playing the Aggies this year. Certainly you would expect that. So we haven't got as many phone calls as I anticipated this morning, but we're working on it. And we'd love to have an opportunity or two, like you mentioned, in the non-conference portion of the schedule. But more importantly, you know, we got to get as many games as we can at this point. You know, we only got X amount of days before Christmas and then X amount of days before league play starts. And with our league starting a little bit later than most leagues, you know, it could be difficult for us to find games from Christmas to January 8th. You know, if there's no COVID shutdowns with a bunch of leagues, which I can't imagine there won't be, who knows? We're going to try to pick up games and every opportunity that we can leading up to WAC play.
Is there any
Coach, how's it going
as
far as go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, is there any limitations as to where you guys would travel to go, I guess, or would you kind of go anywhere?
You know, ideally, we'd love to be in a situation where we can bus to as many games as we can. But I've said it before, you know, if we have to fly to play a game or two because it makes sense and it works for us, or it's all we could get, then we'll do it. And, you know, obviously we'll follow all the safety protocols and be very careful. Certainly, I think every team in America would tell you they'd love to not be able to fly commercially at this point, but it'll be, you know, remains to be seen if we can accomplish that or not.
Coach, how's it going with as far as getting your rivals, UTEP and New Mexico, worked out on the schedule?
You know, they're both in unique situations. You know, UTEP's on pause. They're shut down because of COVID positive test. I don't know the particulars, but, you know, that'll create havoc with their schedule. You know, we'll continue to communicate with them. I continue to say, I mean, it's a huge priority for us to play those games. You know, we'll see how it unfolds. And then I think today's what, Monday. Monday, you know, New Mexico is in a situation where, you know, they're scheduled to play
Boise State
series this weekend. And I know they were trying to see if they could get some relief because of their restrictions, you know, placed upon them like they were us. And to be the opening games for the conference doesn't seem correct to me, but, you know, who am I to comment on another league and their policies, et cetera. But certainly from outside looking in, it doesn't make sense, but I'm sure there's reasons for it from the conference office. So they're trying to work through all that. And, you know, that's the priority for them right now. And if I was me, that would be the priority for us too, if we were out to open, you know, conference play and trying to figure out if that's going to happen or not. And then as soon as they know that, you know, they've indicated that, you know, they'll work with us and trying to figure out where and when we could possibly play them.
All right. Anything else for Coach this morning?
I just had one more just about Donnie Tillman. Obviously was kind of a bit of a go-to guy down the stretch for you last night. Is that a role you feel like he can play throughout the year? Or is it going to be kind of what we've seen in years past where it's kind of by committee in a way?
I don't know. Too early to tell. You know, Donnie made some big plays down the stretch. So did Johnny. But I'm disappointed. I was disappointed afterwards, and more so after watching the video, is where were they, you know, for most of the 35 minutes of the game? I mean, they out-athleted their positions, and it wasn't even close. And it just didn't seem to me that they dominated the paint or the glass to the extent that they could have. We'll address it today. And it's something I've been talking to Donnie about quite a bit is, you know, make your presence known, you know, more often. You know, every time down the court, be locked in, you know, just produce. And you know, when he does and everybody sees the athleticism and the body and the ruggedness and the quickness, it's like, wow, you know, but then you'll go 4 or 5 possessions and he'll be nowhere to be found. And, you know, Johnny had, 8 and 7 last night. And, you know, I think 5 of them were in the last minute or 2 of the game. And that's just not enough. And I love him and I love his game, but he's going to have to figure out a way to, one, get in better shape. You know, he's had nagging injuries, which makes it difficult to get in high level shape. And then 2, just be more aggressive. He's got to be more aggressive to score the ball. And he's a great passer and a willing passer, but almost to a fault at times. So I've got to do a better job of getting them to understand what we need from them. And this will be a good learning experience for both of them.
It was kind of our first opportunity to interact with Donnie last night. It's safe to say that he is excited to be an Aggie. I mean, I guess that's got to be at least a reassuring thing, a guy that has already kind of bought into this team mentality and supporting his teammates.
Yeah, I obviously didn't watch that, but it's good to hear. We're glad to have him. He's integrated quickly into our culture, expectations that we have. He fits us really well. He fits me in terms of his game and his approach. I just got to get him to be more aggressive. And, with his personality, I'd imagine it shouldn't take me that long to do it. But for him to get 4 rebounds in that game last night, I mean, come on, man. I mean, he needs to get doubles against that team and most of the teams, that we're going to play against. So he's got to strive for more, and it starts with me, and we're going to start today.
All right. Anything else for Coach today?
All right, guys. Appreciate it, man. Have a good week.
Thanks so much,
Coach.
Coach.
You bet.
Be safe.
You bet.